He's probably the best all-rounder in Indian cricket today. His batting can win matches for the team, his bowling can cause serious problems for the opposition. But has he got the recognition he deserves, or is there something more that he can still lay claim to? Find out for yourself as I introduce you to Robin Singh. Welcome to the program, Robin.
Thank you, Dan.
Now, in fact, Robin is not really your true name. You were born with a much longer and grander name.
Yeah, I think Robin stuck because over the years when you play as a kid, people start calling you, making things short for themselves. My real name is actually Robin Singh.
And in fact, the other thing that people don't realize is that you weren't born in India, and in fact, you weren't even born Indian, were you?
Yeah, well, I was born in the West Indies, and I came to India and became a citizen over the years, over a period of 5 years, and became an Indian citizen.
But when did your ancestors move to Trinidad, and from where did they go?
They moved 150 years ago, and my forefathers were, as I was told, they were from Ajmer. I did have a friend who was doing a lot of research on the migration or the immigration of people, and he sort of went around trying to get bits and pieces together, and more or less he told me that they were from Ajmer.
So in fact, 150 years is quite a lot of time. Does the family now think of itself as West Indian rather than Indian?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, my parents are people who always think of themselves as Indian, even though they have been born in the West Indies. Similarly, my grandparents used to think the same way, and they used to tend to follow a lot of Indian traditions. It still exists here, where most Indians have settled down, and over the years I have picked up a bit from them, and we used to keep in touch a lot with India in terms through the radio or through the television, you know, in terms of movies and things like that.
The first 19 years of your life was spent in Trinidad. What was it like growing up in the West Indies?
Oh, it's very different. I mean, the West Indies was very free. I mean, we used to love going to the beaches to play cricket. I mean, I'm somebody who played almost every sport that was possible. I mean, I had a cycle that I used to cycle a lot. We used to walk to school. We used to, you know, play football. We used to play cricket. At any given time, we were hardly in the house. And I mean, we never lived in flat system. For me, that was a major difference when I came to India. If I had to live in a flat, which I live in a flat, but I feel very cramped.
So life was more open, more carefree.
Yeah, very much so.
You started playing cricket at the young age of 7. Was that just schoolboy stuff, or were you already pretty serious about the game?
No, I think I was much better than the guys who were my age at 7, and I was told one day by one of my school teachers under the school, I'm going to be playing for the school team with guys who were 11 years old. So I said, you couldn't be serious, huh? He said, yeah, you were going to be playing, and I was so scared, you know.
But one of the handicaps you had was your mother always thought you weren't tall enough.
Yeah, I mean, she never thought I would grow, and well, over the years I would have grown a bit.
You played for the Trinidad under-19 team. In fact, you became the captain of the team. You also played for the Trinidad national side. At that point in time, was it your ambition to in fact play for the West Indies?
Well, it was not really my intention. I mean, as I said earlier, I mean, I played cricket as a sport for enjoyment. Everything came later on, like as I got older. I mean, every step was different. I mean, like I had to get to the under-16 level from school. Then I got into the national side at a very young age when I was 17, in spite of playing for the under-19 team at that time. Then I captained the under-19 team. So there were a lot of responsibilities. At the same time, my talent was recognized very young by the national selectors there. And I ended up playing along with people like Larry Gomes and Logie and all the others who were much older to me. And I mean, it went on from there. And I think probably from then on, people sort of told me, well, why don't you try? You know, you have got talent enough to play for West Indies. And I thought about it for a while. I did miss out on a few opportunities to play for West Indies youth team, and for whatever reasons they were. And
was it the competition that was the problem when you never got into the West Indies side, or was it also something to do with attitude, or perhaps even, let's use the word, discrimination?
Well, I think it's a combination of everything. I mean, like, attitude was not really the problem. I mean, it's somebody that I felt at that age that I could not really make the side, to be very honest. They had a fixed team that was going to be there for the next 9 to 10 years. You have people like Gordon Greenidge, Desmond Haynes, Richards, Combs, Kalicharan, who were just going out. mean, you had all these guys who were there, and there was no way people like myself were going to replace them.
There simply wasn't an opening.
There was no opening, and there were many other guys who were waiting in the wings, you know.
So it was about this time that you decided you were going to shift to India. How exactly did that happen?
Well, there was a team called Hyderabad Blues that came and
From India?
From India. They came on a tour, and I played against them. Trinidad team played against them, and I did very well against them. And I was invited by a chap called Akbar Ibrahim, and I took up the offer, providing my parents, you know, they were very hesitant to let me go because there was a lot of difference in, you know, traveling and all these sort of things. And so I had to convince my dad.
Was it tough?
Go. Yeah, I mean, convincing him was a little tough, but once I got here, I enjoyed playing for the 3 months that I decided.
But except that when you arrived for the first time in India, it must have been a whole world away and a whole world different to the West Indies.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly different. I mean, like, when I landed in Bombay, I was not very sure where I was going to be. And these guys were waiting for me in Madras. So I had to take another flight to get to Madras. When I got to Madras, I was not sure whether they were in the airport, because I was not sure where they were staying. I got out of the airport, and the first thing I can see was people moving all over the place. And I thought we would hit, you know, we would strike somebody with a car or something anytime, you know. And I went under the flyover. There's a flyover in Madras called Jamni Flyover. And I would never forget the sight that I saw. There were so many people sleeping on the road, and that is something that has stuck in my mind for a long time. That is the first thing that I remember when I came to India.
The sheer size of India, the number of people around.
Yeah.
What about other things? Was the food difficult, the language difficult, the attitudes of people?
I mean, everything was different. I mean, like, when I came here, I could not eat spicy food. I had problems with water. I mean, if I eat spicy food, I'm somebody who never eats spicy food. I ate very bland food, even though, you know, we are Indians and we tend to cook Indian food, but it's totally different to what you eat here. And
I believe for the first year or so you had to virtually live on fruit and nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I did, because my stomach could not take the food, so I was almost a foreigner to Indian food, to Indian languages. I mean, I did not know there were so many languages, and I was not exposed to so many different cultures. I had to understand people's way of thinking. My way of speaking was totally different. People had to understand me.
Sounds almost as if it was like an alien arriving in Mars.
Yeah, it's almost like that.
Now, you got into Indian cricket, however, very quickly. Sadly, though, for the first 10, 12 years, your fortunes fluctuated wildly. You made it to the Tamil Nadu team for the Ranji Trophy matches in 85, 86 and got dropped the next year. What went wrong?
Well, I'd got an opportunity to play in England in league cricket. I participated there. I didn't take part in the local tournament in Madras. And unfortunately for me, the association said that I did not qualify to play for the following season.
So they penalized you?
Yeah, well, I was penalized for that.
But the very next year you came back dramatically, you made 500 runs, you took 25 wickets and 20 catches. That must have made you feel a lot better.
Well, definitely. I mean, I did well, and that was the start of a different era for me.
And you also helped Tamil Nadu win the championship.
Yeah, we had won after 33 years.
In fact, you got into the Indian team as early as 1989, and you went on that tour to the West Indies. What was it like playing for your new country, India, against your old country, the West Indies, on the very territory where you were born, Trinidad? This must have been a very strange experience.
Well, it's definitely very strange, but I was very proud in the sense that I felt that I had achieved something coming from the West Indies and settling down here, because it was definitely a big step. The first step was to become a citizen. And there was no guarantee that you would play for India. And it so happened that, I mean, the moment I got my citizenship, I ended up getting selected for the next tour. And I mean, when I went there was a lot of pressure. I'm sure there was even more than what I can imagine now.
From the local people?
From the local people.
Because they wanted to see their own boy make good.
Exactly. And, you know, you would find everybody giving you advice. How to play, you should not play like this, you should play Marshall like this, or you should play, you know.
So was that the problem? Too much advice and they got you a bit confused?
No, not really. I mean, I think it was just a question of lack of opportunities. I mean, like, I played only 2 games and we didn't, I mean, the team was pretty fixed at that time, so to break into the actual 11 was not that easy.
In fact, you're right. From that high point, everything went dramatically wrong. After those 2 games, they never picked you again, and for 7.5 to 8 years, you were out of the team. That must have been about the most difficult thing to cope with.
It was probably the most difficult phase of my life. And for the first 2 years, I thought there wouldn't be a problem to get into the side, because I thought as long as you perform, you would get in. But I think what helped me a lot during that period was getting married. I got married, and I think my in-laws, my wife, my sister-in-law, these are the people who I probably lived the past 7 years with, and they sort of helped me understand the way people taught in India.
So in fact, as 2 years went on to become 3, 4, 5 and all the way towards 8, your second new family actually gave you the support you needed.
Definitely support, strength, and I think more than that, the guidance. I mean, understanding the system was very important.
They helped you understand the Indian system.
Definitely, I understood the system much more than I did earlier. Probably I tried to understand more.
So how did you actually motivate yourself as a sportsman? The family gave you the emotional comfort, but what about the sporting motivation? 8 years out is a long time.
Oh, as I said earlier in the interview, I mean, I am someone who have always played cricket as a sport. I enjoy playing cricket, and that 7.5 years, I enjoyed playing well. I enjoyed playing well for my company team, for my state team, for my zone team, because at every stage there was something for me to gain. If I played well for my company team, probably would get a promotion, probably would get a bonus. I used these small aspects to go on, and fortunately for me, I got contracts in England, where I used to play in England, and once I did well there, and you have to do well. You're paid to do a job. It's almost like a job. You make sure you do well, and it gives you satisfaction. So for me, everything that I did, I wanted to be satisfied that I do it well.
But did it hurt when younger people found their way into the Indian team and you still found yourself sidelined and outside?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that when people get in, when you feel you're better than them, it definitely hurts you. But I never really begrudged anybody. I just felt that I did not really get the opportunity to play.
This whole experience must have made you very tough.
Well, if I was not tough enough, I would not have been here today.
Do you now today, when you look back on it, say to yourself that it gave me perhaps a sense of determination, a sense of grit that you would not have had?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably more than ever, because I like to think that when I'm put against the wall, I'm able to come out of a situation, hands down. So, I mean, it gave me more satisfaction beating the odds, let's put it like that.
Well, in 1996, you got your break for a second time, which was against Australia in Mohali. Were you shaking like a leaf when you came out then?
No, I was very confident. As a matter of fact, when I got the news, I didn't even know that I was selected. My wife got the news. I was in Goa. I had to take a train. I mean, I had to take a bus to get to the airport. I traveled overnight, and when I landed there, I mean, most people were very receptive. I knew most people. My roommate was Trinidad. He was very helpful.
So in your heart of heart, you knew, I'm going to do it this time.
Well, I didn't have a choice really, because India had to win the game, and if we did not win the game, we would have been kicked out of the tournament.
In fact, India did win, and you went on to carve out a whole new image for yourself. Let's take a break there, Robin. I want in part 2 to talk about that image that you've made and the sort of games that lie behind it. We'll be back in just a couple of moments. Stay with us. Welcome back. My guest is Robin Singh. Perhaps the most common image everyone has of you is Robin having to do his best as India comes under increasing pressure. Is that why Ajay Jadeja calls you a cricket Buddhist, because you keep your cool in situations where others lose their nerves?
Well, I hope so. But really and truly, I mean, I've played in that position at number 6 most of the time, and it's a sort of place where you always play under pressure. And you got to analyze the game, think straight, forget about what's happening around you, and really focus on what you have to do.
In fact, the amazing thing is when you focus, you appear to do it with so much single-minded aggression. Is that part and parcel of keeping your cool, or is that just another aspect of your personality?
I think it's just another aspect of my personality. I've always been like this as a person, and I'm somebody who don't talk too much. I mean, I like to observe, taking the right things, what I feel is correct. And I think that has helped me over the years to remain calm under these sort of situations. And fortunately for me, I mean, I've played for Tamil Nadu, and a lot of my years in cricket, batting at number 6 and at club cricket or at Ranji Trophy level or at zonal level. So I've batted in that position most of the time. So I've come across almost every situation possible. So
let's talk about some of those situations when you actually came in and helped save the day for India. One was in Pearl in South Africa in 1997 when you were playing against Zimbabwe. You came in at number 8 and you scored 48. Would you say that was one of your best performances with the bat?
Well, I'd like to think it was probably one of my best, for the simple reason that it was probably the 4th game that I played after I came back to the side in 1989, and we had nothing to lose. I mean, the game was almost lost, and I remember I was batting with Kumble and he said, just hang in there, I'm sure you can get it. But I think he kept saying that because I remember we had played a game against them earlier in Karnataka. I'd smashed them all over the place, and he kept encouraging me, and then he got out, and then Salil came in, and we told ourselves, I'm sure we can do it, and we kept playing, and we kept going on from there, and fortunately in the end managed to tie the game.
In fact, you did it again, didn't you, last year against New Zealand in Gwalior? You scored 45 runs in just 34 balls. Does pressure bring the best out of you?
Well, I'd like to think so, because I seem to concentrate much better under pressure. I think coming from the West Indies, playing in India, I've always played under pressure because you've always had to perform to get into a side twice or thrice as much as others. So I tend to play very well under pressure.
So is this one of the things that makes Robin Singh special, that you welcome pressure?
Yeah, but I wouldn't welcome it, but if it's there, I don't shirk it.
Then why have you not had more success getting centuries? You've only sadly had one.
Well, again, in one-day cricket, it really depends on where you bat. I mean, in India, in the subcontinent, when you play on wickets that are very good for batting, our batting lineup is so good that you really don't get enough opportunities to bat. So it boils down to the opportunities. I mean, I batted at number 3 in Sri Lanka, where I got 100, and we had posted quite a few big scores. But I mean, I didn't get to bat higher up after that. But
so it's really just a question of where you are in the order.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and what happens, later on, I mean, as the matches go on over the years, you find that people have to get back to the old position, and I am probably more suited to number 6 in the team's opinion. So,
which also means that it's more difficult for you to get more centuries.
Naturally.
Let's talk a bit about your bowling. Both your 5-wicket hauls have happened against Sri Lanka, and in fact the century you got was also against Sri Lanka. Is that a coincidence, or does somehow Sri Lanka bring the real aggression out
I
in you?
think it's just a coincidence, but I think we were playing Sri Lanka so much after they won the World Cup, and we had played Sri Lanka, I think, almost about 20 times. So, I mean, there were more opportunities to get 5 wickets against Sri Lanka. The 5-wicket in Gwalior, not Gwalior, is it
Guwahati?
Guwahati.
That was the very first one.
Yeah, that's the first one. I think that I was under pressure as a player to retain my place, if I'm not mistaken, and somehow things seemed to work in my favor. And I mean, I'd really like to thank Sachin for that, because he is the one who had placed a lot of faith in me being in the team.
It was more than just things working in your favor, because you took those 5 wickets in Guwahati with just 22 runs, and you did it in 5 overs itself. Was that extreme good luck or extreme good play?
Well, I think it's a bit of both, but I hope the luck continues like that.
How much is luck an important factor?
Oh,
Because you've had lots of bad luck, so now do you begin to believe in good luck?
No, it's a very important factor. I mean, some guys, I think you make your own luck at the same time. I don't believe that I had bad luck. I mean, it's just that the way things were structured in India, it didn't allow me to play earlier. But I don't believe that if you don't work hard, you won't get a chance. I personally believe that if you do your best, and you very firmly believe that you're good enough, you will get a chance. So when you say
you make your luck, you mean it's your mental attitude that does it?
That's right. I think you've got to be mentally strong. And if you're not mentally strong, I don't think you can survive in this game.
Now, as I said at the very beginning, you're probably the greatest all-round on the team today, and yet you've only been given a chance to play once in a test for India. How do you explain that?
Well, I mean, I came into the side, as I was saying, I came into the side, I was 33 after I came back into the side, and I think age probably was something that in India, I mean, people thought about, and they thought, well, probably it's too late to make a test team. But I think for the first year that I played, a lot of people were speculating whether I'd play long, how long I would play, whether I would last in the game for so long, especially after not playing for 7.5 years. I think I sort of proved them wrong, and which I love to do, and I kept going on from that, and I was hoping that I get a chance. Unfortunately, I got a chance in Zimbabwe, but I didn't really do as well as I could have done. But it doesn't mean that it's the end of the road, because I mean, I'm just 3.5 years or 4 years in international cricket, so I'm as fresh as anybody else.
So you have every intention of proving them wrong again and making sure you get into the Test side.
Certainly, why not?
When do you think it's likely to happen? I mean, do you have a target date in mind that you're working
Well, the
towards?
sooner the better. But I wouldn't like to think that I would lose my place to a youngster. I mean, I'd like to think that somebody, if he gets my place, whether it's now or whether it's later, he's had to really work for it.
But till then, you're going to fight to keep your place for yourself.
And that's for sure.
Looking at the way Indian cricket is structured today, do you think that they do enough to find more all-rounders like you, or do they in fact put all-rounders like you under pressure and make you insecure?
Well, I'd hope that they would actually encourage more people like myself, because if you take the 1983 World Cup team, there were many guys like me in different ways. I mean, you had Mohin Amanat, he was more of a batsman bowler. You had Roger Binney, who could do both. Similarly, you had Manan Lal, who can do both. You had Kirti Azad, who was a batsman but was a spinner. You had Balwinder Singh Sandhu, who was a low order batsman. So I hope, I mean, like we try to follow that sort of system, because if you take Australia, for example, I mean, they have many players like myself, for example, Shane Lee. You have Simons, who is more of a batter, who bowls a bit. You have a lot of players like myself.
So you think we should take a leaf out of the Australian book?
Well, I certainly think that because they are the #1 side in the world, so I mean, I feel there is no harm.
And why don't they do this? I mean, is it politics that stops them? Is it narrow-minded vision? Or is it simply that people don't think clearly enough?
Well, I don't really think so. I think we've got to have the caliber. I mean, you've got to have the players around also. So, I mean, it's part of the system.
Okay, you, as you told me, Papa got married in 1990, and Sujata, your wife, was a tremendous support during those years. But now, in a sense, you live within two countries. You have a family in India and you have a family in Trinidad. Do you find yourself torn between both countries, or are you?
Not really. I mean, once I moved to India, and maybe the initial years I used to think a lot of the West Indies, but I think over the years, once I got married, I think that thought has just gone. I mean, like, my parents are there, my family is there, my friends, but my life is in India. Whatever I've made has been in India. For me, India is home.
And when one day you do eventually decide that you've had enough cricket, the bones are weary, you're going to hang up your gloves, will you choose to settle in India and make India home forever?
Well, I'd like to think that India is home for me. I mean, West Indies is I'd like to use it like a base that I had in the earlier years for vacations, for relaxation, that sort of thing, and to go back to my older roots.
Robin, for a wonderful interview. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.